Okay, so I have two questions about that. First is, how in the hell do you know what the early conditions of the Earth are? And the second one is, do you know what pudding is? But anyway, do you know what pudding is?
In what context? What
Well,
are you putting?
Pudding
what?
has like a single
Pudding.
Consistency all the way through. So when you
Pudding?
said that
Food pudding?
yeah, chocolate pudding. Well, if you dip into chocolate pudding, when you dip into chocolate pudding, it's the same at the top as it is at the bottom, right? Are you suggesting that the early Earth was pudding? Because you said that you would put in, how did you word it? You said you would put in the elements or the components or the chemicals that were in the early Earth, and then you would do what? Wait for it to react and turn into life?
Well, that's actually what you believe, that these chemicals are going to self-assemble and react on their own and turn into the first primitive cell or self-replicating molecule.
Would the pudding just rot? That it was pudding across the entire Earth, that we could take one kind of substance.
If you want to claim uncertainty through this whole debate, you're not helping your side.
I don't have a clue. I like all the theories.
Wow.
But let's get back to the pudding. Okay, I'm trying to get back to you complain constantly that chemists use these controlled conditions. Well, you know why they?
Yeah, and pudding has nothing to do with the early Earth. So bad analogy, Speed.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm telling you. You're suggesting that we put something in a flask that resembles the early Earth. Isn't that what you said? That you would put pudding in a flask?
No, I never said pudding.
So that's pudding. Was it pudding?
Speed. Pudding has nothing to do with the origin of life. Your analogy is nonsense. Pudding? What is pudding made out of? Pudding, by the way, requires, an arrangement of ingredients. So how about cake? Can you just take a bunch of flour and mix it and turn it into cake, or is there specific steps required to produce a cake?
Exactly. It takes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Exactly. Okay,
yeah, you needed a specific ingredients in order to make cake.
What did you suggest just a little while ago? You suggested putting a bunch of pudding in a flask that you thought resembled what the entire Earth was 4.5 billion years ago, and that's what you. I'm asking you, what would you do in order to figure out whether or not abiogenesis could work? What tests would you're complaining?
What test would I make? I just told you I would take all the life-friendly molecules needed, put them in a test tube, and see if they self-assemble, which they don't.
We're on the early, and that's pudding. We're on the early Earth.
No, it has nothing to do with pudding. Where are you getting pudding from? This is ridiculous. Do you know anything about chemistry? Pudding has nothing to do with organic molecules such as proteins and RNA and DNA. What's that?
Thinking. Okay.
What?
I'm trying to get you to understand that what you're suggesting is ridiculous.
Oh, okay. So then where's your proof for abiogenesis then? If it's so ridiculous, how did life get going?
No, we're going back to pudding. Okay, you said that.
Hold on a second. Let's try to get off the pudding, okay? I think we're making everyone hungry. Okay. Can you tell us what explanation from the evidence you've collected makes the most sense for the origin of life to you? And then maybe now we have somewhere to kind of move forward with the discussion.
I don't have one. We don't know.
Yeah,
you're such a great chemist. You would take a bunch of pudding, put it in a flask.
Back to the pudding. Pudding has nothing to do with the origin of life.
No, it has to do with what you're suggesting.
Yeah.
Sir. You're suggesting.
No, pudding has not. Have you ever heard a chemist talk about pudding?
You know how ridiculous to think that I was going to create life in a flask by putting pudding.
All right, again, you have no argument, Speed. What would you
manufactured meth? I know about controlling things.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you haven't refuted Fuzz Rana. He's a PhD biochemist telling you that these experiments are highly contrived and don't relate to the early Earth. So attack him.
He's a joker, and he's not in this discussion. I'm sorry.
He's a joke, and so is James Tour, one of the most renowned chemists in the world. He's a fool.
Both people have the belief disease I was telling you about in the comments the other day. You were talking about evidence for naturalism.
Please.
If I put a seed in the ground, and that seed sprouts a broccoli plant, and I end up with broccoli on my table. And if I look at all the things that are going on to create that broccoli, it is very complex. If the seed came from, it could have been dropped here by aliens or God.
This debate's over. This is a clown. All right, Smokey. Have a good day, brother. God bless.
Dude, I've manufactured meth. I know about controlling things.
Yeah, maybe you should go back on it. You don't making any sense. But you got to say, where did the seed come from, though, in the first place?
Well, you don't have to know where the seed came from. It could have been dropped here by aliens or God.
This debate's over. This is a clown. All right, Smokey. Have a good day, brother. God bless.
By the way, before you leave, I want to show you something here. This is the reading stack that you should be looking at for abiogenesis. Just to get started, these are the books.
Well, that's depressing because they still can't tell us how it happened. So
have you ever read?
That's the most depressing thing I've ever seen.
Have you read Nick Lane's Vital Question?
Can't say I have.
Okay, you should.
Is he telling us all about how he has no idea how it could happen?
Well, there's a couple of them here, and then there's another one by Luisi.
You know, here's the issue though. All the abiogenesis books to me, they all basically say the same thing. You know, here is this we know, this we know, this we know, and we have no clue how it could have actually started. That's clear.
But I can give you a piece of that evidence.
Well, that's like what I like.
1,500 a year. Okay, do you want me to send you the whole list?
Again, 1,500 a year. That's
I'm not going to read the papers. Are you going to read? Are you going to read the papers?
Well, if there was one of the 1,500 that made the case for naturalism, wouldn't it get the Nobel Prize?
Yes.
Okay, so there's 1,500 there that do not make your case. We already know that through deduction. Why are we talking about?
That is not how science works.
So science will never ever tell us that naturalism is true. Is this your stance?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess we're.
I have tons of evidence. I showed you.
Then why haven't you presented any?
I just did.
That's not evidence, sir. That's a stack of books.
Here's half of it.
Yeah, that's a stack of books. And by the way, let me add: if you have read all those books, why couldn't you pull out a piece of evidence for us in this conversation?
I have not read all those books.
Then why are you holding them up?
I read this one.
Then why are you holding them up as evidence, sir?
I read that one. I'm working on the other.
Are you following me here? Are you following me here at all?